All right, finally, this is it. Well, hello, this is George Hernandez. This is also Inside the Head of George Hernandez, and I'm bringing you the top 10 movies of the decade. Now, before we get to the list, I understand the decade has passed, and it is now January 8th, 2020, but I had plenty movies to watch for the first time, rewatch movies, then evaluate to see which were the top of the decade. Before we start, I also want to reiterate that this is solely my opinion. There are movies on here you may have seen before, maybe movies you've never even heard of. But here we go. Let's get to it. The top 10 movies of the 2010-2019 decade. Let's start, shall we? Alright, now starting with the number 10 spot, we have Drive. Directed by Nicholas Refn, he sets the table and builds tension with some of the better getaway scenes I've watched in quite some time. I mean, these scenes would make Baby Driver look crummy. He makes a unique twist on a love story with very little dialogue between our two partners, mostly with just smirks and facial expressions, as well as having next level violence in this film. I mean, seeing Ryan Gosling bashing heads and killing, it blew me away. On the topic of Ryan Gosling, he gives off what I would say is one of his better performances of his career, being so plumb for most of the time he's on screen, being so confident yet relaxed in these difficult situations. He's stellar, and it's unlike some of the roles we've seen him in the past, and I just love him in this movie. As well as the shots, the edits, and on top of all, this soundtrack sustains this movie so well, and it is truly so underappreciated. I highly recommend watching Drive, and that is why it is number 10 on this list. I mean, just listen to this.
There's something inside you. It's hard to explain. They're talking about you, boy, but you're still the same. There's something inside you. It's hard to explain.
Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have Moneyball.
No bunts.
Bunt is now.
Not even third baseman's back.
No bunting whatsoever.
If someone bunts on us, just pick it up and throw it first. Don't try to be a hero and go second.
Let them make the mistakes.
Patient.
And when your enemy's making mistakes, don't interrupt them.
They're giving you an out, man. They're just giving it to you. Take it. Say thank you. Another thing, no more stealing.
That's what I do. That's what you pay me to do.
No, I pay you to get on first, not get thrown out second.
This is a process. It's a process. It's a process. Okay?
It's down my spine every time I watch that scene. But anyways, directed by Bennett Miller, Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill absolutely kill this movie together, making such a great dynamic. I just love them both in this movie. It's so well written. Me and my brothers go around saying one-liners from this film all the time. Like, How can you not be romantic about baseball? Baseball growing up to me was my favorite sport. Seeing someone struggling and fighting for the job while their craft was involved around baseball, I was all in on this movie. I connected with it on so many levels. This is more than just a sports movie per se. This is a man fighting for his job, a man who has something to prove, a man who just wants the best for his ball club, not being given what's deserved, and for a father who just wants the best for his daughter. It's a true underdog story. This movie just has it all. You have great performances by Philip Seymour Hoffman, R.I.P., Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and it's a heartthrob at times. And also, it can give you a good laugh. Any sports or non-sports fan would love this movie. It also uses real-life events from the Oakland A's 2002 season, as well as the actual footage from the game. Its sheer authenticity and it being one of the more real sports movies is the reason why it's number 9 on this list. Moneyball is an absolute gem. Coming in at number 8, we have Django Unchained.
Myself. Damn. I can't see fucking shit out of this thing.
We ready or what?
Oh, hold on. I'm fucking with my oh shit. I just made it worse.
Who made this goddamn shit?
Willard's wife.
You make your own goddamn match.
Look, nobody's saying they don't appreciate what Jenny did.
Well, if all I had to do was cut a hole in a bag, I could have cut it better than this. What about you, Robert?
Can you see? Not too good. I mean, if I don't move my head, I can see you pretty good, more or less. But when I start riding, the bag's moving all over, and I'm riding blind.
Man, that scene is absolutely hysterical. Man. Anyways, directed by Quentin Tarantino. When it's all said and done, man, this dude will turn out to be one of the best directors of our generation. Hell, he's probably at that right now. Django is one of those movies, if you don't know of Tarantino's work, you're just like, what the hell is this? And that's just what makes him so diverse from all the other directors in Hollywood. He's just so much more different, and that's what I love about him. That's what I love about every single one of his movies. This was actually the first Tarantino movie I saw, and ever since then, I don't hesitate to watch another. This movie is so well written, it's so humorous and amusing to the eye. That's what just makes it an incredible movie. You have a brilliant cast of Jamie Foxx, Christopher Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Samuel L. Jackson. How can you not watch this movie? You have the brutality and the gore, the violence, as well as the twists and the turns, as well as the Oscar-winning performances by Leonardo DiCaprio and Jamie Foxx, even Christopher Waltz and Samuel L. Jackson. You also have Leonardo DiCaprio break a glass, and he doesn't break character. This movie is incredible, and that's why it deserves the number 8 on this list. At the 7th spot, we have End of Watch.
¿Hablas inglés o español?
Español, compa.
Te estamos deteniendo porque tienes un CD colgado del espejo. Salte del vehículo,
God! Suelta la pistola! Get the fuck out the car! Get the fuck out the car!
This way.
You good, partner?
I'm good. Cállate los
X25 shows code 6 with extra.
I haven't cried to a movie in years, but man, I was damn close with this one. I just love this movie so much. Directed by David Ayers, I've seen it around 5 to 6 times now. And just because it's so easy to rewatch. You're so heavily invested in these two cops. You see them when they're at their best, and you see them when they're at the lowest. These two cops love each other to death, man. You see them with each other at every moment, good or bad. Michael Pena and Jake Gyllenhaal give off unbelievable performances, as they just work so well together. The way it works so well is we can all just relate. We can all just get so connected to these characters because we relate to them, even when it comes to their foolish acts, as well as them just trying to be the best at what they can do. And that's just why you're on the edge of your seat, because you just want what's best for them. Because you know what's at stake. You know what they could possibly leave behind or even lose. That's why this is one of the best movies of the decade. And I just can't say enough about the way David Ayers wrote it, the way he filmed it, everything about it. Fun fact about David Ayers, it took him 6 days to write this on a $7 million budget, and it made $56 million in the box office. That's just unheard of and so astonishing to hear. And for that, we give it the number 7 spot on this list. Six, we have The Dark Knight Rises.
I never cared who you were. And you were right. But shouldn't the people know the hero who saved them? A hero can be anyone. Even a man doing something as simple and reassuring as putting a coat around a young boy's shoulders to let him know the world hadn't ended.
That scene right there is still one of my scenes of the entire trilogy. Directed by Christopher Nolan, this is the denouement, the ending of the brilliant Dark Knight trilogy, which I believe to this day is the greatest trilogy of all time, and this movie right here being the best ending to a trilogy ever. This movie has it all. I mean, there's no flaws with this movie. You have Bane take over Gotham, being so nonchalant yet ghoulish at the same time. You have the fall of Bruce Wayne, seeing him rise after failing multiple times. You have new allies as well as new foes. This movie is just so rewatchable because you're relieved of everything. All the tension this story builds up. Gotham gets their new protector in Robin. Alfred gets to see Bruce live his life not being behind a mask. And Jim Gordon is finally revealed who his friend was all this time over the years. And that is why I give it the number 6 spot. The Dark Knight Rises is an absolute gem. Number 5, we have Inception.
I need an architect who's as good as I was.
I've got somebody better.
Ariadne? I'd like you to meet Mr. Cobb.
Pleased to meet you.
If you have a few moments, Mr. Cobb has a job offer he'd like to discuss with you.
Work placement?
Not exactly.
I have a test for
in this movie. Directed by, like I said, Christopher Nolan. It's not a movie you'd understand for the very first time watching it. Maybe I'm speaking from personal instances here, but the first time I watched it, I did not understand this movie. Then the second time came around and I watched it, and I absolutely loved this film. This is an absolutely, I would say, original film. So authentic, so well written, so beautifully shot. This was a movie when I was watching, I couldn't get my eyes off the screen. I didn't want to take my eyes off the screen. It's one of those movies where I would throw the word masterpiece out in the air. I've never seen a movie directed by Christopher Nolan that I didn't like. And especially, I mean, this cast of Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Caine. I mean, this is an all-star cast. DiCaprio breaks your heart. Everything about it, everything about this film. There are absolutely no flaws. And this movie was released in 2010, and if you haven't seen it, I feel so sorry for you. But Inception comes in at the number 5 spot on this list. Coming number 4 spot, we have Get Out.
Good to see another brother around here.
Yes, of course it is. Something wrong?
There you are. Do something with this.
Yes, yes.
Oh, hello. I'm Philomena, and you are
Chris, Rose's boyfriend.
fantastic. You two make a lovely couple.
Get Out, written and directed by Jordan Peele. I saw this at school, and I was terrified. I kid you not. Watching it for the first time, I just thought, man, this movie was insane. This movie was great. The ending was crazy, and, you know, I couldn't believe the things they were doing, this and that. But when you watch it for a second time, you get a completely different perspective. I mean, they just throw these messages at you, revolving towards the end and what they really do. I mean, watch Rose the whole time. I kid you not, you get a completely different perspective of her. I mean, she's so diabolical but subtle with these things. That scene when Lakeith Stanfield is walking up to that group, at first I thought, man, he's showing off his wardrobe to these people. But when you watch it for a second time, he's showing off his new body. That's insane. It's insane. And also, when he's telling Chris, when he's telling Chris to get out, I thought, man, this guy's crazy. But no, he's really telling him to leave. He's trying to help him out. I mean, the way Jordan Peele wrote and directed Get Out is unbelievable. He has a true talent, and I can't wait for this guy to drop more prodigious art in the future. Get Out is one of the best horror movie films of our time, and it will be remembered for years to come. And that's why it comes in at the number 3 spot. We have Whiplash.
5, 6, and... Dragging.
Written and directed by Damien Chazelle, this movie is chaotic. So beautifully shot. I mean, some of these scenes were gorgeous. The scenes inside the studio, however, gave me a real sense of fear. Inside that studio, Fletcher wants sheer perfection, and if you don't give him that, he'll belittle you for it. I felt so unhinged watching it because of the tension Damien Chazelle builds. I never thought a movie about Studio Ben would make my heart beat so fast. At the same time, however, you have an Oscar-winning performance of J.K. Simmons, and he really relieves that tension with some hysterical dialogue that will crack you up. Miles Teller is also great in this movie, doing nothing but attempting to be the greatest drummer ever. You have the family of Andrew not really believing in him because it's something that is, I would say, out of the ordinary, in the underrated category. And ironically, Fletcher is the only one who truly believes in Andrew, even through all the rage and grief he caused him. It's so well written, and a fun fact, Damien Chazelle wrote Whiplash due to the dynamic between him and his instructor while playing drums in the studio. This is basically Damien Chazelle's story. And I remember watching this movie and thinking, man, I can't believe people haven't seen this film. And it's their loss, honestly. Whiplash, man, I love this movie. Whiplash comes in at the number 3 spot. Number 2 spot, we have Wolf of Wall Street.
I told you, 70,000. Well, technically 72,000 last month, something like that.
You made 72 grand in 1 month.
Yeah.
I tell you what, You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my job right now and I work for you. Hey, Paulie, what's up? No, everything's fine.
Leo
hey, listen,
did not win an Oscar for this film. Let me repeat that once more. Leo did not win an Oscar for this film. This is no hate to Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club, but man, I feel like this man's been robbed countless of times. But he eventually won it for The Revenant, right? Anyways, this was a film of Martin Scorsese. He directed it, one of the most eminent filmmakers of all time. The story follows Jordan Belfort from his rise to a wealthy stockbroker lifestyle to his fall involving the crime and corruption of his firm Stratton Oakman. This movie follows the wildly courageous and wealthy Leonardo DiCaprio as he builds his firm. He obviously has his fun, meets his allies, and finds his wife. Then, for it to be all blown away. We see some real-life occurrences in Jordan Belfort's life, like his yacht sinking, and that scene is absolutely insane. And on top of all, we see Leonardo DiCaprio give off one of the best performances I've ever seen in film. Jonah Hill is also amazing in this film. You have Margot Robbie and John Berthold. This movie was just so exciting and exhilarating to watch. I've seen it countless of times, and every scene is just amazing. I highly recommend it, and there are just things I can't say enough about this movie. It truly is a masterpiece. But the number one spot gets it by just a small square inch. One, Moonlight. Directed by Barry Jenkins, Moonlight is a well-distinguished movie written to perfection. It's about 3 defining chapters in the life of Chiron. He's a young African-American man who grapples with his sexuality as well as his identity growing up in Miami. This movie breaks your heart, and Mahershala Ali, who plays a role model in the life of Chiron, nails the role in just 16 minutes. He even won an Oscar for his Best Supporting Role. His dialogue, his gestures, he truly deserved it for his work on Moonlight. And Ashton Sanders, as Chiron, he magnetizes all eyes with his development as now a young teen in high school. Me now, I don't cry or really just get utterly upset at movies. But man, this movie, man, it's an emotional roller coaster. You go from seeing this kid dealing with his mother's addiction to seeing him grow up, still dealing with the same issues, and continuing to grow worse. And finally, when he just glances at a moonlight of hope, it just goes south so fast. Moonlight is a masterpiece, and I don't think you could say that about many movies, but Moonlight is a masterpiece. If you were to have an art project to turn anything you believe is art, turn in a DVD of Moonlight, and I guarantee you'll get an A.